3.
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
My name's Gary. It's Eric, right?
Yeah. It still is.
Jilletta, Jarvis.
Hello.
She is running for governor as a
Welcome back to
libertarian.
our show.
Welcome back. I
Thank
screwed
you,
up
thank
last. I was a jerk last week because I double booked her because what's his name? Coke.
Bill.
Bill.
Cody.
No, it's not Cody. It's jeez.
Starts with a K.
Sorry, Bill.
Coke. No, it's not Coke. Cook. Bill Cook. Yes, Bill Cook. He spells it weird, so it's kind of screwy. But anyway, he was being brutally attacked by former Senator Booton, and I had to get him on because it was so over the top. The thing is,
He deserved to be able to say his piece.
yes, he deserved to rebut the BS attack.
Give me a break.
But anyway, before we get started tonight, most programs, they just come on and complain about things that are going wrong, right? And they whine and they complain. But on rock, paper, hand
Are you gonna
grenades,
complain about complaining?
nope. On rock, paper, hand grenades, we do that, but
With aplomb.
but we have solutions.
We do.
And I have a solution to a very real, very difficult problem that millennials are having now.
You mix some odd solutions. Is it in the cup?
No, that's
What will it do?
That's Vasa. So anyway, this is the problem. A lot of kids nowadays, they're playing the video games at 2:00 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And they want some cereal.
Oh, yeah. All
Right.
children uniformly want
Right.
cereal
At 2 o'clock in the morning? Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
You're
We'll
with
go
me
with
on
it.
this, right? Okay,
I
go
have a
with me.
child. He hasn't asked for cereal once at 2 o'clock in the
How
morning.
old
but
is he?
hey, I'm
How old is he?
willing to go with it.
How old is he?
9.
Yeah, okay, give it a year. So anyway, he's playing video games, 2:00 in the morning, he wants some cereal. But the thing is, the millennials, they don't like cereal. You know why they don't like cereal anymore?
Why no, Gary? Why
Because
don't millennials
cereal,
like cereal?
it's too difficult.
What?
cereal.
Cereal is too difficult because you have to get a bowl.
What, eating it on a cereal basis or just...
Yes.
Okay.
They don't want to become serial killers.
They don't want to...
Yes. So anyway,
killed that whole box of cereal.
right.
What's wrong with you?
So they don't want to get the bowl and this. And well, the other thing too is if you get a bowl, let's say you're playing Fortnite, right? You're sitting there playing Fortnite.
Everything Gary says is empirically proven.
This is all true, all true. So they're playing Fortnite, right? And they're into it. And then there's a break in between games where they're waiting in that little waiting area, dancing and stuff. And then they've got time, so they go out and get a bowl of cereal, right? So they get the bowl, they put it down, and next thing you know, they're starting up, and they're in a squad. Next 10 minutes later, the squad's killed 20 of the opponents, and they're in the last 2 or 3 squads.
Jilletta, I want some of what
Wait,
he's
wait,
drinking.
wait. No, so, no, wait.
I want
so,
some of
no.
that solution.
So they're playing away. He's playing away. Finally, he dies, or they win that match, or whatever, and they look over, and the cereal is now paste. Right? You take your cornflakes and leave them for 15 minutes in milk. What are you eating?
Well, it's so...
At 2 o'clock in the morning, you're eating cornflakes?
Yeah.
You're not a millennial.
Frosted Flakes.
Okay.
Frosted Flakes.
Okay.
Okay.
You're a person who's laden with regret.
So that's...
Go.
I gotta get this.
We gotta get to the
We gotta
solution
get.
here.
We gotta get to the solution.
Please.
So that's part of the problem.
Fix the social problem.
The problem is they're playing video games. They don't really have time to do that. They don't have time to have a bowl. This is way too egregious, and I figured out the solution.
It's egregious to get out a bowl, pour some cereal in it. And then
Correct.
Okay, got it?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
we'll go with it.
So I've come up with a solution that resolves all those problems, so they can still have their cereal and eat it too.
Okay.
Like that. That was a good one. Okay, here we go.
Oh,
All right,
there's
I'm
the
going to
bag.
do what one
So-
of our engineers tells me never to do, which is drum
No,
on the table.
no. So instead of
Oh, and it is Frosted Flakes.
They're
Okay.
gonna-
Frosted
they're gonna see
Flakes.
Tony the Tiger.
This might be our big breakthrough. Frosted Flakes, Kellogg's, one of those companies is going to watch this, and they're going to come to me and say, Gary,
And say, Gary, we're suing you.
I love this. I love this. Yeah, I'm
You
suing
put
you.
our brand
Again.
on your show?
For-
Really?
For associating our logo with
With
your
your show,
harebrained
we-
narrative that scared us all.
It's not harebrained.
defamed
This
our
is-
children.
This is genius. Okay,
Okay, all right, this is genius. Go.
so they get the Frosted Flakes. You're playing your game. It's like a
God, he's not
2-minute
gonna
break,
do
right?
this.
When I woke up this morning,
Wait,
Oh,
no,
he's
wait.
gonna do it.
No. Okay, so it goes like this, right?
Okay.
Instead of like pouring it into a bowl and all that other crap,
Yeah.
you just reach in, take a handful,
And you've got a patent for this now, right?
And gargle. So your oral orifice becomes the bowl. And
Yeah.
This is like you're a walking.
So now the game starts up. You're all
Kool-Aid
ready.
machine.
You're ready to go. You're ready to go. You're right
and
there.
I bet no kid has ever thought of this before.
No, they
No,
haven't.
I've never
I've
seen
never
it.
seen
I
it.
I've
can
never
recollect
seen anyone do
ever
this.
having seen
And
a kid
the
do this.
cereal never
Definitely
gets
not when I was in college.
right. So the cereal never gets like more gross and stuff because it's in your mouth for only 2 seconds before you pour the more milk in.
And then what do you do about the crumbs? Do your parents yell at you?
You
when they
wait
start
for your mom to come upstairs and clean your
Or
room.
the ants come, or what?
Yeah,
Okay.
the ants. There's enough left for ants. So anyway, that's my solution.
I've
it
still
always
got-
stays fresh. It always stays crunchy.
You're right, and I can attest to that because I've still got a box of Frosted Flakes that I bought in Mexico when I was down there in the mission field in the middle of the 80s. Of course, they call it a different name there. They call it zucaritas, which means little sweet things, but I digress. I've still got that crunchy box, and I can attest to its crunchiness, yes.
So anyway, that's
This is
my,
3 decades on.
That's my.
So every now and then you grab a handful, and that way you can attest to the crunchiness.
Oh, I haven't opened it. I'm frightened.
Then you can't attest.
Yeah, you
to the
can't
crunchiness.
attest to nothing.
I squished the box a little bit.
And it
And
crunches.
it crunches. Okay.
I know this show is going to give you a bump in the polls. I just know it.
Anyway, that's
we've
my,
come out of the launching pad so strong.
Well, so anyway, that's my solution for kids. If you want to have your cereal, it's still doable. You just gotta think outside the box.
Callers, if you're out there, I think Gary deserves a little recognition. So feel free to call in and let him know just what you think
What
about
a
this piece of
genius-
this life hack that he gave you.
Yeah, exactly. Life hack.
And back to our show. Welcome back to our show, Jilletta Jarvis. And you, from what I understand, having been here in the chair, hearing you say it out loud, are indeed running for governor of the world
Of New Hampshire.
of New Hampshire.
Well, it
New
might
Hampshire.
as well
not
be the
pushing.
world. It's the
Okay.
center of the
It's
world.
the most important of
State.
the world. but
Yes.
Yeah, and you were you to prevail, would be, of course, the top-ranking, not only libertarian, but you would essentially be the pinnacle of political power in the state, for what it's worth. Saying that to a libertarian is a bit of an odd thing to do, but that's quite a quest. So is this purpose to sort of bring to life the adage that we libertarians want to take over the world and then leave you alone?
I don't think I'd ever want to take over the world in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
But I do know the saying and
Sure.
the whole. We want to run government so that we can allow you to run yourselves.
to run
Yes.
your lives, yeah.
And yes, I do hold true to the. I think that I'm capable of making decisions for other people. Why shouldn't I think that you're capable of making decisions for yourself? And
Well,
I
because
think
there's
the
a lot of kids out there that won't eat cereal out of a bowl, and so there's.
But
some
they
people
have
that need
people
help.
like you who can tell them how to. We don't have to write a law to tell them how to eat
Well,
cereal without
that's
it getting
what I was
soggy.
thinking of doing.
But then
writing
some
a
kids
law.
like their cereal soggy.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think of that one.
Were
Yeah.
you one of those kids?
No, I did never like the
I,
soggy.
I also did
Is
not
this
like my
penance?
cereal soggy, but my son does.
He does.
He does.
Maybe he's just adapted to the video game thing.
No, he's not
Problem.
allowed to eat and play games at the same time.
Ah, guess what?
This is a
I'm a
9-year-old.
strict parent, yes. You know what?
Are you
You
going to be
don't-
that
you
oppressive
don't-
as governor too?
To children or to adults? To children, I say that's up to their parents.
Oh,
Fair enough.
To decide whether or not their children can play games while they're eating a meal.
She
Right.
was waiting for you to step into that
that's
bear
right.
trap.
But
Smart
as a
mom.
parent myself, having a snack is one thing, but eating an actual meal, you don't do that in front of a video game.
okay. So anyway, I think we've covered the most important thing about the cereal, but
I see.
Nothing else is really that important.
Gary,
now,
I
right?
see that you think that.
I know. So you concur with my belief that I think that.
I concur with your self-assessment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, so I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I'm going to run over it again, trip over it again. Is the Seattle, their Washington State, they're having red flag bills laws where I call up and I say, my neighbor Eric Eastman is showing a lot of aggressive signs, and I'm kind of worried about him. And so they go investigate, and they say, Eric, You look pretty sketchy, buddy. He shows up in his kilt. So
What makes you say that?
so they say for his own safety and for the neighbor's safety, for everybody's safety, because they love everybody.
Yeah. It's all
Right?
about safety.
It's about love.
Not control.
It's about the children. It's not about control. It's about love
Okay.
and compassion. They take Eric's guns, but it's okay. No, wait, no,
All zero
no.
of them.
All zero. Well,
But we'll say.
We'll just say
My Daisy BB gun.
he's got his. Well, I'm going to use this because I know the price on it.
Rubber band gun,
They
which
they
I
take his
treasure.
1022 assault rifle. They take his 22 rifle that he uses for killing the woodchucks. And this happened to a guy out in Seattle,
Friends with the
basically.
woodchucks, but
Because his neighbors thought he looked sketchy?
Well, they knew he had been drinking, and they were worried,
Oh.
and they had shot a crow outside his house, which they never said whether that was legal or not. But anyway,
so there's more to this story.
yeah, but basically he was sketchy, and his house was a mess. But so Eric has his 22. The cops come. They say, Eric, we're just going to take your guns for a little while, and then in a month we're gonna review this with a judge and check it out.
Okay.
But
Okay.
he's not being convicted of any crime.
He
or
hasn't
any
been charged with a
wrongdoing.
crime. He has not been adjudicated mentally unstable or
So a
anything
neighbor
else.
who doesn't like my style drops a dime, and then people with guns come to take mine.
Correct.
Is that the scenario?
So the thing is to the average voter, they're going to hear it on TV and talk about the neighbor. They're going to use the extreme example of some guy that was out of his damn mind, and the neighbors didn't say anything, and he shot 25,000 people. And that will be the justification for this new great law in New Hampshire. So what's your take on it's called red flag laws.
I think that's really pushing the envelope
Why?
because
Which one?
anyone
Yeah, which
who
envelope?
many envelopes, yes, a big giant Manila envelope, not just your,
Oh, okay,
little
okay.
envelope. So if I happen to not like how messy my neighbor's yard is, I can complain that they've been out doing things late at night. He's been out with a shovel. I don't trust him. Something's going on.
She is looking over at your house.
And,
She really is.
and I could have the police show up. Right now, you can do what's called a wellness check, where someone can call the police and say, could you just check on my neighbor? Something's going on. It's a little, something sketchy is happening. I just come and check on him. They come and they check on you and make sure you're okay. They look for any red flags that, say that there's something going on.
Is it
But if
typically
you
people
haven't-
who are armed who are doing this?
It would be
Wellness
police
check?
officers who come. Not sure if it's the sheriff's department or if it's an actual police officer.
Usually
that
Okay.
come.
it's mostly a police
It's
officer, I
tip-
believe.
yeah, I think it is, but I can't say for sure. I've never had
It would
to call, and I've never had anyone show up to do a wellness check.
Sure.
But they'll come and they'll check on you and make sure that you're okay, find out if there's something going on. But then if any red flags are raised, then they'll start watching you. If you are doing no, I'm fine, but I can't say the same for the teacher down the street after I get done talking to her. Okay, now you've raised a red flag. Someone's going to be watching you. But if there's absolutely nothing wrong, you just happen to have a messy backyard.
I'm evil. You got wheels turning now.
I'm so sorry. No, anybody who's watching this, please do not
Please-
call wellness checks on your neighbors.
Don't try this at
unless
home.
you really have to, and they're really in danger.
Unless you're a bored actor like me and you really want to try out your chops at the door in front of a bunch of cops. So thanks for the idea. Move on.
Okay. But then coming in and confiscating their property is taking it too far. Unless
Why?
Why?
Yep.
Because I could call on anybody I don't like.
What does the Constitution say about that?
Constitution says that your right to bear arms shall not be infringed.
What else?
And the Constitution says that there's no, you shall be free from illegal search and seizure.
Yes.
You have not been convicted of a crime if you have not been accused of a crime. If there is no warrant, you may not seize their property. And so if this is a warrantless search to
Right,
come
when-
in and take your property,
Constitutionally, when can the law enforcement take your property?
if you are being,
We're- I was-
well,
I'm looking-
constitutionally,
It's
I'm
based
looking
on
for
their
the due
subjective
of-
I
judgment.
don't have any place where you can constitutionally take someone's property
Due
unless there is
process.
a warrant out for that property and is specifically named in the warrant.
Yeah, or due process. If you've
That is
been
part of due process.
If you've gone through the courts and they find that you you shouldn't be having firearms, that's due process. You've had your day in court. They take his guns. That's all legit.
Yes.
The other thing too is when you're seeing this, you're going to see the red flag laws come up because they're just going to, because we have. It's pretty awesome. We have 400 legislators, and you have a pretty much a huge spectrum of different people, and some of them are super anti-Second Amendment. But anyway, I won't get into individuals. But so that will be introduced, and the problem is, so different police departments are going to have different policies. He's from Nashua. They grab his 1022. They take it down to the station. He goes. A month goes by, and he says, "Well, I got my gun back." The judge said there was no issue. So, oh yeah, but that was $20 a day for storage. Okay, so now he's got a $200 gun, and it's going to cost him $600 to get it back. So that's one of the.
That's one scenario, but I wouldn't put it past some departments somewhere.
Oh yeah, some of them.
to
Some of them,
behave
I'm
that
sure,
way.
would be great. You know,
Sure.
Some departments are really good, and they really do care about people's rights.
There's a lot of good
They will
cops.
go by what the law says and have to do what they have to do because we passed some stupid law. But there's some, like you say, there's some police departments would be awesome about it, and some would be, well, here's a chance to make some money.
I mean, it sounds
Or
very
get a free
akin to
gun.
civil asset
It
forfeiture,
does sound very
doesn't
much
it?
like civil asset forfeiture,
does.
which we said we would not do in this state.
And it also sounds akin to overly empowering gendarmes, namely police, who are doing a wellness check with the breadth of discretion to decide whether or not they're seeing what they call probable cause.
Yep.
And probable cause is a pretty subjective. It takes subjective judgment and discretion on the part of the officer.
And you're opening up
to
that
make that
police.
decision.
You're opening up that police department towards lawsuits.
Yeah.
Because I can say I was doing nothing. So yeah, I had a beer with my friends on Friday night, but that doesn't make me an alcoholic. You know, or
Even if I'm an alcoholic, that doesn't mean they can take your guns because you're an alcoholic. I mean, that'd be like they would have to get rid of the guns of the entire population of Tennessee.
Ooh.
I don't
We're gonna
know
have to
all
let
the
the
people
entire
in Tennessee,
population.
so I can make no comment about this.
We're gonna have to let the population of Tennessee weigh in on that. You see, in a subsequent show. So.
Yeah, we'll invite them
Anyway,
all
back to-
on.
back to New Hampshire.
I'm sure they'll all want to call in to talk, especially now. But I don't even remember what I was saying now.
Did I ruin that for you?
So is the scenario that he's painted in general terms a bad idea?
I
and-
think it's a horrible idea.
Okay.
I think it's a horrible idea. I can understand why some people think that it's a great idea, though, because you've got those mass killers who have gone out and shot up a nightclub and shot up a casino and shot up a gaming facility and shot up a school, and everybody afterwards being the key word here, always says, oh yeah, they were acting very suspicious.
Yeah, and usually there was a criminal record. Usually, like the kid that was in Florida,
Now
the
I-
kid was sick.
Now I see the thinking behind the red
Yep.
flag laws.
And so
Yeah.
So they're trying to get out ahead of.
they're trying to get ahead of it. They're
ferreting
trying to
out
do
who's sketchy.
prevention.
Yeah,
And they're
got it.
trying, and that's why that's why people are getting behind it, because they don't want that next mass shooting. And so they're doing that reactionary lawmaking, which is one of the things that I've said many times we need to stop doing. Reactionary lawmaking gets us in trouble because we overreach what government is supposed to do, and we make everybody a criminal. Everybody now has the chance of being a criminal no matter how law-abiding you are. We have just said that all you have to do is not be liked by somebody and you're suddenly a criminal. And the more we do that, we have these, you have situations like down in Logan Airport. I don't know if you've heard about this, with the new security there, where if you are walking down, and I did this, so I am now captured as a possible terrorist. You're walking down the hallway there towards your gate, and you stop suddenly and turn around and go somewhere else. If you go into the restroom and you get on the phone before you're in the restroom, or you get on the phone right after you're in the restroom, or you talk to somebody that you didn't come in with, and I did every single one of those things. I came in, I went, I knew I had to use the restroom, but I didn't know where my gate was or how close it was, so I went, I saw it, I looked at my phone to see what the time was, because I don't wear a watch. Saw, okay, I have plenty of time, turned around right there, went into the ladies' room, came back out, went down, sat down at the gate, caught on the phone to let my husband know that I had made it to my gate, everything was set, I was just waiting for my plane, and then proceeded to have a conversation with the people sitting next to me, because that's what I do. There is a camera now that picks up on all of those things and it does not matter if you are a foreign person in the airport or if you are a citizen in the airport. This new tracking software will now track every movement you make if you do one of those things.
Was there any repercussions from what you did, or did you?
No,
they question
I don't
you?
know. They won't tell anybody. They just store them so that they can track them. I don't know what they do with them yet, but
Wow. Do
Yep.
they have a special algorithm for like Monty Python's Silly Walks? Because
I
I might pull a
do
John
not know.
Cleese the next international airport I go to.
I
That
do not know.
would be
But they
fun
didn't
to
come and
see.
talk to me, but I did every single one of the things that will trigger their
What if you went?
security algorithms now. But who are making criminals
Yes, we
out
are.
of
You're right.
Everybody.
every single person. And I don't know anybody who hasn't used the restroom and used their phone. And I mean, there are some people that use the restroom and the phone at the same exact time. There are,
It's like multitasking.
Yeah,
yeah.
talk to people. I mean,
Okay. No, you're right.
don't talk to anybody when you're at the airport.
Yeah, you're not allowed. Yeah, that's criminal.
That is a
How dare
crime
you?
now.
How dare you talk to somebody?
Let's hypothetically say that you prevail in the primary and that you're going to be debating Governor Sununu and perhaps Steve Marchand or whoever it is that the Democrats nominate. And one, if not both, are going to counterpoint the argument by saying, I understand your concerns about governmental overreach and about reactionary behavior in lawmaking and enforcement and all that stuff, but we've got to do something about fill in the blank. We've got to do something as an organization known as government to somehow proactively deal with these offenses against the common good. So
we
they
set up
hit you with that.
prevention. Prevention is when you make sure that people who are depressed or having mental anxiety or any of those things that have caused people to go out and start shooting have access to mental health care before they get to that point. You know, and each person has had that we've looked at has had either anxiety or depression or was suffering in some way, and they were being treated with pharmaceuticals. And if you are able to find the list of the pharmaceuticals they were taking, and most of the time, actually every time so far, you have to look very, very quickly to find the list of pharmaceuticals they were taking, because the pharmaceutical company will quickly
Crush it.
go into the court system and ask for that list to be removed because they don't want people to be afraid to take their medication.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But if you then go and look at the side effects of those medications, each one of them has had increased aggression as one of the side effects. The worst medication for increased aggression is actually that cessation of smoking medication.
Really?
Xantex or I don't remember what it's called.
They have fun.
But-
People get paid to come up with these dumb names.
Yeah, I know they do.
Yeah, but the other thing too is if you read the side effects of those medications, one of them is to call your doctor if you have suicidal ideations.
Or homicidal. They don't say that
Well,
out
they
loud.
don't say that.
Yes.
But the
so
the
you're
inverse
feeling
of suicidal.
so they give you a medication that makes you suicidal or homicidal.
Well,
And
yeah, but
those medications
The
are
my-
what we're
my
prescribing
point-
these people. And guess what? Every person so far I was able to find was on these medications.
Yes.
Every offender who
Every
had indeed.
offender so far that I was able to find.
Okay.
Some of them got taken off
We had-
their list of, and if they didn't pass away, they didn't shoot themselves in the process, then they don't have an autopsy report showing what medications were in their system. So I couldn't obviously look at those ones.
We had Dr. Malcolm Smith, a professor at Harvard, at Dartmouth, on the show many years ago talking about bullying. And he reluctantly admitted, because he wanted to say it was all about bullying, that these mass shootings, because this is probably 6 or 7 years ago, but he had interviewed and gone down there and talked to all the people at Columbine and et cetera, Nate fill in the blank of the mass shooting. And I asked him, I says, I've heard in the legislature that most of these people were on or just got off of psychotropic drugs. And he didn't want to answer. And I'm not
it's
really,
true.
I'm not very pushy, but in this case I was. I says, wait a second, you just did all this research. You know the answer to this. And he reluctantly admitted that it was over 75%.
He didn't want to dignify the question.
He did not want to.
Because they don't want you to be afraid of taking your medication.
No, that is not. That's no way.
That
There's-
is the reason that
That's
the
what they-
pharmaceutical companies gave to
I
the
think
court.
the
BS.
AMA and the
BS.
APA might agree with what
I
Jilletta
think that's a
just said.
total BS answer.
I agree
think-
it is,
I
but it
think-
is the answer that
I'm
got
sure-
them permission to keep it out of media and keep it out of the
Right.
courts.
So that
but
would
the real answer is they don't want drug sales to go down.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, if
They
you're
don't
afraid
want-
to take that medication, then you're not buying it.
Well, they
So,
don't.
yeah.
They don't want moms and dads to know that they're giving their child something that could potentially cause massive reactions.
cause this developing adolescent to have disassociative thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we instead provided counseling, we've instead of just saying, okay, so you're depressed, here, just take these pills. We have this cultural shift that we've gone to where we just drug everyone, and it started when I was a kid. When I was a child and I would get bored in class, I know, I would finish my work early. Everybody else would still be working, and I'd be, you're in second grade, you're getting bored.
Right.
What does a second grader do? Turns around and starts talking to somebody.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's what you do. Or you start fiddling with things, which means you drop things a lot, and everybody keeps looking over to see what you're doing. And, of course, that means you must have ADHD. You must be put on Ritalin.
Absolutely.
And thank goodness for my mother who said, no, you just learn how to teach her.
right.
Yeah,
We
but-
had.
Good for her.
Yeah,
But that's
I know. Right?
and it's been pushed. It's been pushed all ever since. We are constantly having counselors in schools who are saying, well, things would be a lot easier for you at home if
You drugged the
could
crap out
put
of
your
your
child
child.
on this medication.
They did that to me.
And they push it, and they make you feel guilty as a parent if you're not doing it.
They did that to me when I was 16. I was having a tough time concentrating in school. Like you got to the point where you were done your work and you were bored. I was too spacey to get to that point. I mean, my mind's always going on different directions. I know that's hard to believe.
For those of you
anyway.
who have been viewing Rock, Paper, Handgun for some time now,
So anyway, in the 70s, what they had, the great solution the drug companies came out with was something that was entirely non-addictive, totally okay for moms who have anxiety or kids that can't concentrate. Valium. I was up to 70 milligrams of Valium a day.
they were giving you benzodiazepines when you were a kid?
Yep. Absolutely. I was so depressed, I had no clue why.
Yeah,
I had no idea what
Gee
was
whiz.
going on.
Wow.
I went through.
That's a cruelty.
They put me in the hospital, and I went 3 days without sleeping because they didn't withdraw me because it was not addictive. And then I had a seizure.
Yes, it is.
Well, they in the 70s it wasn't. And so I have a seizure, right? Which basically now I know that could have killed me, right? So I get a seizure, and they said, well, obviously this kid has epilepsy. Let's put him on Dilantin.
This is an episode of The Three Stooges.
it's
it's
just
hard-
constant. It's
it's-
just throw pills at the problem.
Agreed.
Because it's the same thing with the opioid problem. People would come in, my leg hurts, they give them opiates, and then they go to a different doctor, says, hey, my leg hurts, they give them opiates. Next thing you know, they're dealing the crap and doing it because
they need to be able to afford the next one because one no longer cuts it for them.
Yep.
And to get two, your prescription runs out too fast.
And the
so,
drug companies are absolutely positively pushing it.
Oh, they are. And I have evidence of this from a personal experience where I went to my doctor because I have nerve damage in my hands and feet from having something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, where your immune system attacks your nervous system, it shuts it down. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks. Very fun stuff. But I came out with nerve damage, so I have numbness and pain in my hands and feet. So my doctor was going to prescribe me a medication. I said, the only thing I request is that you don't give me anything that's addictive. So no narcotics, no opiates. Not that I've ever been addicted to anything, but I don't want to become addictive. So since this is my first time having to take a everyday painkiller, I would like it to be something non-addictive.
Yeah.
That's my one request. So he gives me a medication. I take it home. I read the side effects. Okay. There's a huge list of side effects.
Oh, yeah.
Sleepiness, not being able to sleep.
Diarrhea or constipation.
But take it.
But okay, sure. So
take two.
I took it, and I was thinking, wow, this really doesn't do much for me. So it's really not that worth it to me. But I took it because I was supposed to go back in several weeks, and I get in 2 weeks beforehand. He goes, okay, before you come in, as part of the med check, you have to go pee in a cup. Pee in a cup for a med check? I've never done that before. He's like, yeah, you have to. I'm like, okay, fine. So I did, and I get in there 2 weeks later. He goes, oh, by the way, your drug test. I'm like, my what? Yeah, your drug test came back saying that you've taken cannabis. I went, well, that's pretty impossible because I think I would remember that. He's like, no, it came back positive. I said, well, then you're going to have to take it again. And why are you checking me for drugs? He goes, it's part of Granite Hammer. We have to check everyone for drugs because you're taking an opiate. I went, wait a minute.
I'm taking a prescription.
Where am I taking an opiate? He goes, oh, that tramadol stuff that I gave you, that's an opiate. But I specifically said I don't want to be taking anything that's addictive. No opiates, no narcotics. And he said, oh, yeah, you did. It's just this is the one we always prescribe.
Wow.
So
And I went, well, I'm not retaking your stupid test, and I'm not going to be on this anymore. You're taking me off it right now. But he did admit, oh, yeah, these drug tests come back with false positives all the time. You can just go take another one. I said, I'm not taking another one of your stupid tests.
So you're paying him to put you in his office to alarm you and exhibit his incompetence.
Absolutely.
And his neglect.
And the authority they have over you.
Yep.
Because what is he supposed to do? Okay, so now you're taking opiates. Maybe you wanted to take opiates. And you test positive for marijuana.
Yep.
What's he going to do with that information? Is he duty bound by some code that he has to report you to the police and say
This is why we were fighting Granite Hammer.
This is, it's all part of Granite Hammer. So I'm sure I'm on some database somewhere, and I probably should have retaken the test to prove that I did not have cannabis in my system, but I was so angry at the time that he had put me on an opiate after I expressly said no, because that's what we always do.
we always do it this way?
He stood there and said, okay, I won't put you on anything addictive. I'll just give you an opiate.
Yeah, well, that's what they did when I was going through my cancer treatment. I went in. They said, "Well, would like to, do you want some medication?" I says, "I have an addictive personality because I'd already been addicted to Valium, so I know what it's like." I said, "I don't want anything to do with it." Well, what about OxyContin then?
Okay, so I have taken Oxycontin, and that is disgusting stuff.
There's a red truck.
Oh, that's
you addicted?
nice.
And they give you.
Yes.
I had a surgery.
Yes, I am.
And they said, we're going to give you a little bit of OxyContin to deal with the pain. It's going to be liquid form because, you've just had surgery and this will be easier to process it. Okay. Never had it before, didn't really know much about it. And they gave me a jar this big of liquid OxyContin. A little bit. I had maybe this much of it because it was so disgusting, and it makes you loopy when you take it. I did not like it at all.
Yeah, but
and then
think
I
how
had to wait for one of those police take back days so that I could go get rid of it, because I took it back to the pharmacy. I said, what am I supposed to do with all this? And they went, we don't take it back.
Yeah, but think
The
how much you could
system
have
is
sold
correct.
it for.
I was going to say, you could have made bank on the streets of Florence.
Yeah, I don't do that. But
Serious bank.
I'm not participating
Okay,
in
okay.
someone else getting stupid.
We've got a half an hour.
No,
You're
wait,
running
I
for
got-
governor.
wait,
We're
I got
talking
another one.
about
I got
drugs, and
another
there's
one.
all
I got-
kinds of important stuff.
I got-
It's the
I got another
appropriate
one.
thing to talk about.
No, I got another one. I got another one. So,
Okay, what do you got? I have a red truck. Mr. Addiction.
Mr. Addiction, yeah. So, what do you? What's your take on the 3D gun printing? They want to make that illegal too.
Making your own gun has been around for, I couldn't tell you how many years. You can go online right now and you can find out how to make a weapon with things that you have in your house right now.
You can make a
So-
zip gun easy.
But buying a 3D printer is pretty expensive.
I don't think they're that expensive anymore.
They're in the thousands.
You can't find it at Staples.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. But you can go out with a couple pipes and springs, and I don't know.
How many have
because I
you
haven't done it.
made?
I
With the
haven't made any,
pipes
but
and the
I did
spring?
look it up to see how easy it was to find the instructions, and it was on the first page of my Google search.
See,
So-
now she's on another list.
Yeah.
I'm sure I am.
And by the way, Google
When you're
archives
running
the
for office,
searches.
you look up everything. Trust me, I am on so many lists right now from all the searches I've done to see, is that real? Someone said that? Hold on, let me Google it.
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
I know, I
man,
know.
How many
I'm sure.
organizations have sent you their questionnaires in the mail? It must have been just dozens.
All of that.
Dozens.
There's only 2 that I haven't filled out because I knew that.
The questions were loaded.
Oh, they were very loaded questions. They were very loaded questions. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, these people will not like me.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Why?
bother.
Why fill it? Hey, that's a great answer, because there's going to be. I'm sure the other thing that's going to come up this year in the legislature is a bill to ban 3-dimensional printing of firearms.
I'm sure it will come up.
I know it will. So anyway, what's
A state
what-
law. A state law. Somebody's going to propose a state law to ban 3D printing.
Oh, they will.
Sure.
They will.
All right.
I am absolutely
'em-
100% positive.
Have you ever
Let 'em-
seen a 3D gun shoot? Because there was a, again, yes, I Googled it. So you can find video of a man who made one of the 3D guns, 3D printed guns, and they shoot him.
It's a single-use gun, right?
It's a single-use gun.
Plastic.
It's made of plastic.
Resin or whatever.
And it really is not very accurate.
And they
It's
can't handle the
pretty-
ballistics. They warp.
It's
Well, the thing.
really not worth it.
No, well, the 3D printed gun that is worth it is the, and it shouldn't be called 3D printed, is right now anybody out in the audience can order a cast aluminum AR-15 receiver that's 80% complete. I think it's 80%. And what they do is they call it a 3D printer, but it should not be. Is basically a jig that you buy, and there's a program that runs it to mill out the last 20%.
That's not 3D printed.
It's not really 3D printed, but they're calling it that because people don't know what they're talking about.
And those are the parts that won't melt.
That's an aluminum receiver for an AR-15, so that you could in effect have an AR-15 built in your house that the government doesn't know about.
So
Interesting.
there is a gun accessories company here in New Hampshire that is one of the top companies. I went to visit them and actually saw how they make everything. And they do have 2 3D printers on hand. They don't make the gun. They make better triggers. They make better grips. They
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible what they make with their 3D printer, but none of it's on the actual barrel where it's going to get hot.
No. This is
Yeah.
the receiver on an AR-15 is just that lower half that retains the trigger. The barrel and everything else is on the top half. That and the bolt and all the parts that need to be metal are the top half, and you can get those mail order.
Okay, but the thing that people are upset about, that they think that you could buy a 3D printer and you could print out a gun
An
that is
entire gun, all the
untraceable. You
parts.
could print it out right now, and it would be basically an assault weapon that you made at home.
Yes.
And I just wanted to point out that that's not actually possible.
It
You
actually
cannot do-
is. It actually is. Because you can also buy an actual 3D printer that will print that same lower receiver out of plastic. And
And the rest of the gun?
No.
No, then you can't. Then what I'm saying is that people think you could buy that 3D printer and make the entire
I understand
gun
that.
right
No
now.
pre-existing parts.
No pre-existing
Right.
parts.
5 hours later.
No one
done.
can track that you've done it
Yep.
because you didn't buy it from anyone. So there's no record that anything ever happened. And you just have this untraceable assault weapon.
Yes, but in effect, you end up with the same thing. If you can print out just the lower receiver, the plastic.
But it's
Wait, let me finish.
trackable
No,
that
it
you
is
purchase
not.
the other pieces.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. I can go to any.
Gary, incoming call and 15 minutes to go.
Okay, I can go to a gun store and buy a barrel. I give them cash. There's no trace. They don't track you for that. They don't investigate you. They don't even look at your license. They don't care. You can get the bolt at Riley's. You can go to a different gun store and get the barrel, get the stock someplace else. You can
that's
put
true.
together an AR-15 without the government knowing you did a damn thing.
It sounds like you got to have
And-
some,
yeah.
some previous knowledge and resources and know what about it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why I'm exempt.
Yeah.
The knowledge part.
So
We get a phone call?
So we're running down now. They flaked off. We're running down on time, and there's a lot
They
of
hung up, Mr. Hopper.
Oh, I didn't know.
really heavy-duty issues that are going to be facing the governor in the next 2 years. When I was in the legislature, and every other year this comes up, or so, Medicaid expansion was a big issue. And I'm just bringing it up because it's pretty divisive. It's
It is.
generally misunderstood because there's a lot of moving parts. It's a part of the state budget.
Yep.
And, the governor is faced with some decisions every time that piece of controversy comes up in the legislature. Is that something that you care to comment on, or
In the
or-
time remaining, I will comment as quickly as possible on
Okay.
it. It's much larger of an issue than a 15-minute
Fair enough.
conversation. I apologize for that. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to fix our general fund.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just keep putting everything in the general fund. Because when we do that, we get to use it however we want to. Oh, look, there's this much money in the general fund, so you want to pull some money out? Go ahead, pull some money out.
a big piggy
It's
bank.
there. It's a big piggy bank. And by putting our health care dollars into our general fund, they are no longer dedicated to health care.
Good observation.
So that's one problem with Medicaid expansion is that we're getting this money in, we're putting it into the general fund instead of a health care fund, and who knows where it goes from there.
So mismanagement of resources.
We have a mismanagement of resources when we do that. We at least have the potential for mismanagement.
Oh, she's political.
and,
That's a
and
really
no
good
way to
answer.
track it if it
And
isn't
no
in-
way to track it.
Got it.
So it's like a 3D printed gun.
It's like,
Well, it is Fed dollars. I mean,
we,
Sorry.
I mean, we know how much money we put in there,
It's
but then we
imitation
end up
money.
with situations where, like this year, we had to use the surplus money to pay off all of our Medicaid promises.
Yeah.
Where we had a lot of hospitals that we had promised money to that we
right.
somehow weren't able to pay for it. So we just approved Medicaid expansion again. We'll get more money in, and then we'll use it for whatever we want, and then we'll end up kind of up the creek with these hospitals that we can't pay. We keep backing ourselves into this round robin circle where we're taking money, we're making promises to pay more and more and more, and we're saying that now everything's going to apply to Medicaid. We'll just put everybody on Medicaid. It doesn't matter. And then we can't pay for it. And we're depending on the federal government to give us more dollars for Medicaid, but then what happened last year? They said, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to give you as much money anymore for Medicaid. So, sorry, okay, well, what do we do with all those promised bills that we have out there that we haven't paid yet because we wait as long as possible to pay those bills? Well, we all know, or maybe we all know, that Medicaid is run at a loss. The insurance companies do not make money on Medicaid. They do not make money on Medicare patients. They actually lose money on every single one of those patients. So every time we expand what we offer for Medicaid, we're losing more and more money. And these are this taxpayer money. This
Yeah.
is money that you're paying for. It's money I'm paying for. It's money you're paying for.
Public
Money
funds.
everyone's paying for. And they have no say in where that money goes. They have no say in whether or not they want their tax dollars to support Medicaid. They have no say in that at all. We just go in and say, okay, so we're gonna increase it. And I know that my Democratic opponents want to now include abortion from conception to birth in that list of things that you now have to pay for as part of Medicaid. And they say that that's because they want to give choice to our women of reproductive age, reproductive choice for women. But they're taking away the reproductive choice of those women who don't want to. They don't want to have that choice. They don't want to be part of that. They're taking away the choice of men who don't want to support that by forcing you to pay with your taxpayer dollars as part of Medicaid.
By
They're
codifying it.
expanded even more. We have a lot of problems with our Medicaid program. There is a program called We Do Better, and it works in a lot of states now that are choosing to use it, where you decide which charities in your state that are approved charities you want your money to go to. So say I do want my money to go to abortion clinics. I can choose to give it to an approved charity in New Hampshire that supports New Hampshire people. That's why it has to be approved. And that comes off of my tax responsibility.
Interesting.
Okay. I choose to give my money to education. I choose to give my money to any of these places so that now our state doesn't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay for it. Right now, I think we give money to Planned Parenthood again, not for use in abortion, but we do give
That's
money
not
towards
true.
Planned Parenthood. We don't give it to Planned Parenthood? I thought
No,
we did approve that.
the idea that we don't
Okay.
pay for abortions is all smoke and mirrors.
I know. So if you choose to give your money to Planned Parenthood because you support what they do, then you can do that.
You have that
If you have that option, but you get to make the choice of where your money goes.
So you
It's
can
not the state
earmark
making
your
it.
tax dollars
You can earmark your tax dollars
voluntarily. And because that's
and it
the
actually
statute,
saves the state money in every state that's implemented this. And the reason it saves the state money is because they no longer have to deal with the administrative fees of making sure that these particular areas are taken care of.
How are we going to do that in New Hampshire when we don't really have a broad-based income tax?
Well, that's what I'm trying to work on with them. They are using it as in Arizona and California and all the states that are using it right now. They are basing it on income tax, but I'm working with the people who own We Do Better and seeing how we can apply that to property taxes and business taxes.
so it's implementing the ethos of voluntarism into your
Yeah, it's a
financial
tax
your fiduciary
incentive.
relationship.
It's a tax incentive for charity where
love
you choose. And how many times have you said, oh, well, if I could choose where my tax money went, I'd be much happier because then I'd be happier with giving my tax money because I'd know that it was supporting causes I believed in. I want to support the military. I'm going to give all my income tax and I'm going to say, earmark this towards the military spending. Or maybe I don't want to give to the military spending. Maybe instead I want to give my tax dollars to supporting the homeless. You get to make that choice as long as it's one of the approved locations. So education, health care, giving it to
Clean
mental
energy.
health clinics, giving it to treatment facilities, you get to make that decision. What is most important to you? And it's not all of your tax obligation, but
It's a
you get to make a
start,
choice. It's a start.
and it's working.
Yep, it's working. It started very small. Arizona, I think, was the first state to implement it, and they started very small. In the first year, they had about 1,900 people do it, and now they have over 50,000 people doing it, and it has saved the state a lot of money. I can't remember off the top of my head how much money, because when I first researched it, it was several months ago.
Here's a gubernatorial candidate who's paying attention to what's working in innovative programs in other states.
If we
around
want
the
to change
country.
things, we have to look at what's working, and then let's build on it and make it work better.
It's almost goes back to learning how to eat cereal without necessarily a bowl and a spoon.
That's right. You could learn how to eat just the spoon, or just
the
with the spoon.
Hey, before Before
You
we-
can eat spoons.
You-
They make them now.
He's
Oh,
a master at bringing things
edible
full circle.
spoons.
Yeah. So anyway, we have very little time, and we have an election next Tuesday. I just want to put in a few plugs, and I'll let my accomplice put in his plugs. So Bill Cook, I think will be a great state senator. I think you should vote for him.
Which district? Which Senate district?
I don't know what the Senate district that is.
Up in Dunbarton and Bow,
Yeah, but it's also Manchester.
but I don't
Remembered.
remember. I
Remembered.
do. I'm
So voters in Dunbarton, Bow, and
Parts
environs.
of Manchester, and
It's Manchester.
so then we have Jane Cormier, who's been on the show. I think she's awesome. She's a wonderful lady. I'm voting for Lynn Blankenbecker. I think she's a great lady. I can't vote for Eddie Edwards, but I would if I had the opportunity. Who else am I forgetting? Oh, Gary Hopper in Hillsborough District 2.
Who's he?
I don't know.
Oh, I've heard he's really weird.
He's got the same last name as a movie star who's equally weird. So that,
Yes,
that works.
exactly.
Easy ride
Exactly.
at 1 point of separation.
Um,
So you would in CD1, if you were voting Republican,
if I was doing an absentee ballot,
absentee ballot, you would choose Eddie Edwards.
yes.
And in CD1, which Eddie has been a guest on this show, sat in that chair. And he's a very articulate gentleman who's been around the block a bunch of times when it comes to the way government works, having overseen agencies and having really been on the inside of how things work. So he has a unique perspective on how to make the administrative state more efficient. So that's what I remember from that
Right.
interview.
Yeah, that was pretty close.
Yeah.
I remembered about twice as much as me, though.
His opponent in the primary, anyway, on the Republican side in CD1
Andy Sanborn.
is Andy Sanborn, who's a multiple-term state senator from Bedford, and he's a personal friend. So, if you want to learn more about him, I'm sure he's got a website, and you can look that up.
What about the other races? What are you doing
Sure,
on the
he'd be a
other?
very strong congressman as well.
What are you doing on the other races there?
Well, I'm actually helping Lynn Blankenbecker. I hail from Nashua. Nashua's in her district. It's
Right.
CD2.
Okay.
And I'm going to be coordinating the city of Nashua for the next week, right up to the
You
primary.
actually have
On the
some pretty
11th.
darn good candidates in that district.
Yeah. Steve Negrin's another guy that I know there. He's from Nashua. He's from Ward 5, and I have respect for Steve.
He's a nice guy. He's been on the show.
And he's been a state rep for the last 2 years, so
Yeah.
he's got a lot of good ideas. I've seen them debate, and there's a few other good people. Bob Burns.
I think you have to admit, though, Lynn's prettier.
I think you're biased when you say that, and I can see why. See what I did there? Anyway. Since we're down to only a few minutes, though, this is
3 minutes.
a show that we've dedicated to you as our guest and as a candidate today. So is there anything we've missed that you would like for us
Yeah,
to
you
have
got
asked
like a minute or two.
anything you'd like to say?
Oh, how do they get in
Facebook,
touch
you
with?
can look me up
Okay.
at Jarvis, the number 4 Gov, on any social media, and then Jilletta Jarvis 4NH is my website.com, and Jilletta is spelt with 2 L's and 2 T's, and the first letter is a J, not a G.
And I think it's a very rare name the way it's spelled.
14 of us in the entire country.
Entire-
It's Scandinavian.
Oh,
Jilletta
okay. I was
Jarvis.
wondering about that.
Yeah, you'll find more of us up in the cold, but
You're in Varnaveen, Varnaveen.
Bert,
Yep.
you Swedish chef. Did you
they
love
actually pronounce it Jilletta.
Jilletta.
Jilletta?
Jilletta.
Oh, that's wicked cool.
That's a pretty name. It really is.
Jilletta.
And people can learn more about your
Where's
your
Dos
stance
Monos?
on the
Yep,
issues.
my issues.
one
My
minute.
platform is posted on my website, and I have everything on my
yeah.
social media as well. So I always answer my emails, my phone, all of that. You can contact me.
So,
Right.
so that's it. That's what we got. Jilletta, thank you very
Primary,
much.
September
You're awesome.
11th,
We,
September
7 to
11th.
7.
we appreciate your coming back so you can get
Thank you.
full airtime.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having
sorry
me.
about that last week.
You have,
I'm Irish, so
you have a worthy opponent. His name's Aaron Day, and you're both vying for the Libertarian nomination.
Yep.
So do your research, folks. Jump online and learn what you got to learn. You've gotten to know Jilletta, so do your homework and vote well.
Yep, we'll see you next week. Take care, folks.